And we are back again on our breath of fresh footy, a different background, but still rivals. I'd love to thank my friends for this Manchester City merchandise. It's awesome. 3 in a row, Carabao Cups. That's the way to do it. But there's been so much news about things going on with the EPL and the changes. But the rivals are back today to talk about those things, but also how the transfers went with the top 8 teams in particular. And it's wonderful to have Pete, and it's great to have a Man United supporter because I know they've gone through a lot of stuff during this transfer period. Not all of it good, but it comes with riveting sort of, perspective and thoughts on what their club is doing. And Pete is wonderful. He has At the Net. Remember to subscribe to it on the Facebook. Remember to subscribe to A Breath of Fresh Footy. Do a thumbs up. Press the subscription button on our YouTube page. The more people that watch this, the more content we're able to put out constantly. So it's a really, really important thing. And we are the rivals. The rivals always speak about rival topics. And Pete, I want to hear what your thoughts were on the transfer market. And we should go with the top 8 teams, as we said previously, just before we started this. And we'll give them maybe a rating out of 10. And we'll talk about a couple of their main players that you think are going to change the way they're able to play their footy during a COVID season.
Absolutely. G'day, Matty. How are you, buddy? Looking absolutely fantastic, which is great. But first up, I must say, everybody, subscribe. Breath of Fresh Footy, At the Net podcast. It doesn't get any better than this. But let's start from the top. Mate, the Gunners. Hey, it was a bit of a frugal transfer window for you boys, as far as I was concerned. You only spent just under £80 million. But deadline day signing, Thomas Partey, £45 million release clause. Mate, how do you see that? Because I tell you what, it's been a pretty good transfer window. I mean, not too much has gone on. I think you guys have just strengthened your areas. I think the big one for you guys was definitely Gabriel, who cost 27 million. But really, Willian joining from Chelsea as well, which was a good signing. So, yeah, I think overall, I mean, you guys were quite frugal, didn't spend too much, but look, a good score. If I was going to give you guys a score where you sit the way you've played so far, I'd give you guys an 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what do you reckon?
I think it's pretty bang on. I gave us a 7.5, very close. I mean, if we had got Owa or with that signing, I would have put it as an 8.5. I thought we did some very frugal business. It was good to see that they're fixing areas that we've needed to fix for a very long time. Partey is this sort of CDM spot that we've at Arsenal needed for a very, very, very long time. We really haven't fit that spot properly since Vieira, and we hope by getting somebody like this, that's the thing. We can actually get this, spot really, really secure, and it can sort out our spine, which is a very, very important thing. In terms of our signing with Gabriel, I think that's probably been the most important signing to be able to strengthen our defense because we leak goals. We've always had this problem of leaking goals. And he's already added this sort of stability where we haven't been scored against too much this season, even against the really top teams. I mean, sure, Liverpool scored 3 against us in the EPL game, but then we played them in the Carabao Cup and it was a 0-0 draw. So we've definitely fixed that frailty in the back line, and he's only going to make us stronger. And the beauty about these 2 signings in particular, and then I'll go through a couple of the others, are that they're both over 6 foot. So Gabriel's 6'2", Partey's 6'1". Strong bodies, big bodies, reasonably tall. They can go for the footy. And we've needed some big bodies because, let's be honest, Torreira's a great player, 5'4". Very, very small. And in the CDM spot at the moment in the EPL, you need big people. So, yeah, I think we've done a fantastic job. We've also strengthened on the right-hand side. So Cedric Soare, he's on the right wing, right back, which is really, really important so that Bellerin has somebody with him. Of course, having Willian is great because it looks like Ozil's not going to be playing for us. He's been left out of the Europa League squad. So he can play as a fake 10 or he can play behind the 3. So with these signings, I see Arsenal finally doing a 4-3-3 formation. So I think it's really, really good. And to also get Ceballos back on loan, he adds a lot of midfield strength with Xhaka. And finally, with Partey there, I see us much more strong with the midfield. However, we just have to hope and pray that these signings, they don't get injured in a season like this. It's always a risk.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I think we're doing well.
Yeah, look, I mean, and it's a real test for you guys this weekend because you're actually playing Manchester City, and we'll get to them in a moment. So a real test, and I want to have a bit more of a chat to you about that because we will also have a chat about the games coming up this weekend, and definitely throw some tips out there of who we think is going to do what.
Yeah.
Hey, so really the big spenders throughout this whole transfer window for me was definitely Chelsea, who spent over £220 million. Which is absolutely phenomenal stuff. You know, you look at what Frank Lampard is, he's almost brought 11 players in. He's really transformed overall the whole squad. You know, Havertz, £71 million, Timo Werner, Ben Chilwell, you got Ziyech. At the end, you got Mendy coming across the line for 22 million.
Yes.
Thiago Silva, Sarr also on free transfers. So really, they've done a lot. However, and I know we've spoken about this so far, I think Chelsea's last outing, they came together a lot better. I reckon they're going to get stronger and stronger. I really see Chelsea in the next year or two. I think they'll be a force.
Mm-hmm.
They will be a force to take it out. However, at the moment this year, I think they're going to be up and down, but I think they will finish in the top 4. If they don't, it's going to be a waste of money.
Yeah. And also, I think my thoughts are as that I don't know if what's his name again? Lampard is the right manager for them, to be honest. I think this is going to be a real key aspect. I don't think he's good enough personally. I don't think he should have ever lost the FA Cup to an Arsenal team that finished 8th. So I've already got my doubts there. And not doubting him as a football brain is phenomenal. But as a manager, I don't think he has the goods for this. And I think this team will probably thrive better under an Ancelotti or a big name coach, that's there.
Yeah.
That would be, doing things like that. For me, who do I love in this? Like, I'd love a Simeone to actually come in and take over this Chelsea team. I think he would do wonders. There's also, or even be, a laughing stock. I'd love it if somebody like Wenger just decided to come in. He wanted to just F you all. I got treated so poorly with Arsenal. I'll just come back with this Chelsea team. I've got all this money, now and just win some championships. It'd be just interesting to see a really, really, really good manager that's been in the game for a long time come in and smash it with this Chelsea team.
But then again, I must admit, and all it takes, and I totally understand what you're saying, but all it takes for Frank is for these guys to really bind together. If Chelsea were to finish in the top 4, he achieves what he needs to. He'll stay there. And also, that could be something that he needs as well. Obviously, like Frank, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and we'll get to him soon. But they're young managers. And I think the amount of money they spent, it's a lot of money. Now, I'll give you my mark out of 10 for these guys. And I'm going to say to you right now, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm not convinced. I think to almost change an entire squad's going overboard. Yeah. You're only out there to try and buy yourself a premiership, really. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to buy yourself a trophy.
I agree. And I think that I would probably give it a 7 at the moment. I haven't been completely convinced what's been happening there, and I don't think the results really spark any sort of optimism for me to see them. I reckon they could even struggle to make the top four, quite frankly.
Yeah.
My pun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Actually struggle because this year you need to actually play very consistent footy to make the top four, and they've been way too inconsistent. I think even Arsenal's been more consistent than they have, and we haven't played fantastic this year, but we've been able to grind out.
Yeah.
So it's going to really, it's going to be very interesting. They cannot play like what they did with West Brom. They can't.
Oh, no way. Look, they can't. And as I said, it's a team that's gone out, spent over £200 million. Hey, guess what? If you spend that kind of money, you want results.
Yeah.
I don't agree in spending so much money and bringing so many players into a team, not all at once.
Yeah.
They could have spent half of that and just, brought in 2 or 3 players instead of the amount they did, and actually slowly build.
Yeah.
But
I know, and I agree with you. I think that they brought all these fantastic young talent in there. They proved themselves. They finished in the top 4. Why would you want to tinker with that so much? Just top up players, save some money in the kitty, and then it would be even better, in my opinion. So, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, they sold just over £66 million. That's all who they sold. So, it's fascinating. All right, next, my friend, Everton. This team, for me, I reckon they have been the most exciting team in the whole premiership to date. They spent £87 million, right? They've only sold, now, and this is what I love, they've sold 1 player and they got 4 million. You look at these things. So the Toffees, they've done so well. The value for money, James Rodriguez from Real Madrid for £20 million. I salute the Everton, the Toffees all over, because they absolutely creamed everybody with that signing. Absolutely fantastic. And it's been shown, and we've discussed this before, one player's come in and he's lifted everybody as well, brought them up to a level, and they're playing exciting football.
Phenomenal.
So Everton, out of 10, I'm actually going to give them a 9, because I think it's been phenomenal what they've done.
I'm happy to give them a 10, because I think what they've done in 6 weeks of footy is phenomenal. They're acting like champions. They're consistent. They keep scoring goals. I reckon the most underrated signing of the summer was Decore from Watford. I think he's absolutely phenomenal with them. I think he does a great job. He helps Rodriguez. Then Richarlison and them work as a fantastic team. I think even Godfrey's not bad either. They've just done the job, and they work under Ancelotti. They're not spending buckets of money on players, but they're fixing the spots that they need to. That is called good transferring. And for me, they deserve a 10. If they're on top of the ladder already after 5 weeks and play the most consistent footy, and many of us are going to tip them to beat Liverpool or at least draw, I couldn't say that 12 months ago, let alone 6 months ago.
No, not at all.
Smacked it. Absolutely smacked it. Easy.
All righty. Well, the next team I've actually got on the list that we're going to talk about today, and these guys, they are exciting. Leeds Football Club. Wow. These guys have actually impressed the hell out of me. They've come up from the championship up to the premiership. They're sitting in 8th spot at the moment. Yeah. They spent £96.4 million. They sold 0.
Yeah.
Right. And when you look at the way they're playing, Marcelo Bielsa, gee whiz, these guys are exciting. They're playing a great brand of football. I love it. Just love the way Leeds are playing football at the moment in their first season back up into the premiership. It was a long time since they've been up. Yeah. They're here and they're making a statement already, because that's where Leeds need to be.
Yeah, and, very appropriate that I've got all the Man City stuff on there, and Jack Harrison is absolutely smacking the pants in this league at the moment. What a fantastic loan for that team. What a fantastic footballer he is. He is absolute class. Man City are definitely missing him. They would love to have him, I'm sure, back in their team at the moment, given the way that they've started the season. And I think all it takes is a couple of these players, as we're saying. I think they've spent a lot, but for a big club like them, it's not huge. I don't think any team's really spent a huge amount apart from Chelsea throughout this period. And they've done the right thing. And for me, that is the key loan of the summer, is definitely Jack Harrison. I'd rate it up there with Danny Ceballos and Arsenal. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. And, of course, they got Costa from Wolves as well, who's played really, really well in that Wolves team. I think, they've done a phenomenal.
I mean, Rodrigo from Valencia was an absolutely brilliant signing for them, and he's absolutely playing a great, beautiful brand of football. Scored his first goal when they drew against Man City, and that is absolutely phenomenal stuff. And I mean, I'm impressed. Look, I'm going to give Leeds also. I'm going to give them a 9.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, fine. I was going to give them a 9. So I think I've been very impressed. They've talked the talk. They're walking the walk. They match it with the top 6 teams. They play an aggressive style of football. What more do you want? You just want to be competitive. That's all you want to do.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the 3 teams that actually came up from the championship at the end of last season into the premiership, and the way they're playing now, Leeds, they've blown the other 2 out of the water.
Absolutely. But also, I'll give West Brom a little bit. I know they've had a few rough things with red cards and stuff, but I thought what they did against Chelsea was very, very good.
Not taking anything away from them. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the real worry out of those 3 is definitely Fulham. They just don't. Absolutely do not. So
now, okay, let's move on. Now, Liverpool. You know, it's actually interesting. They've spent just over 76 million pound. They sold just over 37 million pounds worth as well.
Good business.
Yeah. Oh, look, you know, it's nice, steady business. It's funny because the Fenway Park owners who actually own Liverpool, and it was Kostas Samakas, he was the very first summer signing. I wasn't actually thinking they were going to do much more. I really was not thinking they were going to do much more. But I tell you what, Thiago Alcantara from Bayern Munich, you got Jota from Wolves as well.
Love it.
Oh my God. I mean, they needed it. So they've done well. Look, I think Liverpool as a whole, I'm going to give them probably about an 8. Yeah, I'll give them an 8. You know, I think even though this season's going to throw so many little curveballs, and I think the coronavirus has sent them in because, you know, Mane didn't play last week. Alisson wasn't playing there last week. They got thumped. They absolutely got thumped. It's going to be really fascinating, but definitely 8 for me.
Yeah, same here. I give them an 8.5. And what I love about Liverpool over the last 5 years, I would never give them a 10 for any of their transfers, but they consistently fill the right spots. And just like what Kroenke did with Arsenal and gave money to get Thomas Partey, their owners give them the right amount of money when they need it, when Klopp says it. And that's how a big club works. That's exactly how they work. They don't panic buy. They're all over this transfer market. And people might think that Arsenal might have panic buyed Thomas Partey. There was no chance. That was all the way through the transfer market. And I reckon what they were trying to do was they were trying to get Lyon to lower their price with Hossenor so that because they knew they were always going to get Partey, but they didn't want to pay top dollar for Orr. So they left it to as late as they could, and bang, they acted like a big club and got who they needed for the right spot. And Liverpool do it consistently, and that's why they're very dangerous and why they'll be right up there with the top 2 if not winning it. And these signings, Jota is phenomenal.
God, isn't he?
So good, even in the Portugal and France game, which was a 0-0 draw. Just a big presence, you know. He can play with Ronaldo, knows what's going on. And also, Thiago, in my opinion, perfect signing. Van Dijk's looked a little bit suspect. Add some reinforcement to the back line. I mean, they're going to be a menace to play with. And let's be fair, the game that they got thumped 7-2, there were 3 huge deflections in that game. That game was much closer than that 7-2 compared to United 6-1, unfortunately, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look, it was. I mean, don't forget, match day 4 in the EPL, there were so many deflections right throughout that whole weekend. It was just nuts. It was crazy. But yeah, I agree with you on that one. I mean, Liverpool, look, they've done well and they're consistent at the moment, and that's all everybody wants.
Yeah, and also with them, with Liverpool, who they need to really bring back in that squad, and I think they will come back soon. They really miss the presence of a Henderson, a workhorse, you know, who goes in tough, puts up with no rubbish, and then absolutely gets the job done. He is exactly what they need. Why they're good, they have players like Henderson and Milner do the same thing. You've got to have your workhorses. All teams have their workhorses, and that's why they go well, because it lets their superstars reign. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
After them and they track back. So, yeah, that would be huge in when Henderson's back in. So,
all right. Manchester City. Well, they spent just over 138 million pounds. They sold 67 million pounds. Now, the great thing, Pep Guardiola, once again, you know, he needed to shore up that defense. That really cost them last season. So in spending that, they got the Portuguese centre-back, Diaz. They also got Nathan Ake from Chelsea as well. So really to start to shore that up, I personally, you know what? I look at everything and I look at Manchester City. It's going to be topsy-turvy. You know, how are they actually going to go this year? I do think that David Silva, who joined Real Sociedad, I think he was such a massive loss, such a big loss. And when you look at those losses, and also Sane going to Bayern Munich as well, you know, there's a couple of big losses. Can they get up and do it? It's going to be a close one this year between Liverpool and Man City, I reckon. Still, but look, other than that, Manchester City, what they've actually been able to do, I'm going to give them an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a 7.5. I think they've done well. I know Diaz was their second choice, but he's absolutely quality, which is what they've needed. However, that signing will really determine Pep's quality. He always struggles to find a centre-back that fits his system. I hope for their sake, Diaz is. I think he's fantastic. Ake, as you're saying, is a great signing. He adds a lot of pace on that right-hand side. But for me, Torres is great. They need somebody with a bit of firepower at the front, and he's phenomenal. I love the way that he plays. And we shall see how they go. But, you know, me, it really, really depends. I know David Silva's a huge loss. I would also say Otamendi is a big loss. Experience in that. He's off to Benfica. What they really need to do is, if they don't have that firepower in the middle of the field, like most teams these days find hard, because there hasn't been like a David Silva come through the ranks for quite a while like that, you need to shore up that defence, and then you can really create that pressure, and then the midfield can rebound with the defence and create this sort of partnership. Diaz is a huge key for them to winning this season, or getting 4 in a row, maybe. We shall see.
Well, Oh, look, they may do. Look, the big question for me, though, out to everybody, and I really want to see people comment on this one. Pep Guardiola, I reckon he'll leave at the end of this year. I think he's done what he's needed to do at Man City. And I reckon it's his time. He's going to be, I reckon he will head back. I reckon he will go to Italy.
Yep.
I reckon he'll go to Italy.
The perfect signing for me, if they get rid of him, they need to bring in Allegri. Very similar philosophy, likes to spend, but he's a known winner of the Champions League. And that's what the City folk want. They want to see a Champions League.
Yeah, 100%. They need it. They need it.
Them and PSG have the most pressure every year, and they most of the time choke in the quarterfinals, and it's time they get a serial winner of the Champions League. It could be Jose. I think Allegri would fit them perfectly with that system. I think he
Yeah.
was so good for them. So, yeah, I agree. I reckon it's a 7.5 for me with these guys.
All right. Okay, so this next one, in fact, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to give you my score out of 10, and then I'll talk more. Okay, Manchester United score out of 10. I'm going to give a 3. Right, and I'm being so ultra harsh. They do it every year. They've done it again. The Red Devils have left it to the very last day. Cavani for a free, Diallo, Telles, Palestri. That's all they do. Deadline day was that. Donny van der Beek was the only one that came from Ajax during the actual window. Other than that, they were able to actually finally get rid of Sanchez, thank Christ, the most expensive non-player in the world. And
what did you guys do to him? He was so good at Arsenal. He was absolutely
Oh, look, absolutely. But it's like everything. It's you look at Di Maria. When he came to United, and it's just like it wasn't happening. It wasn't gelling. Now he's playing good football, but it happens. Everybody gets these big players sometimes. Man United, they keep doing this over and over and over. They get these big players in. Frustrated, absolutely frustrating. There's not much I can say about all this. Yeah, you know what? Without dropping absolutely a billion F-bombs on this one. Oh, geez, they're up against Newcastle this weekend, and they're out without Martial. He's out for 3 games. Cavani is actually in quarantine. Right. Pogba, I reckon they should just drop him. He needs to be dropped.
He looked so good with France, though. He looked like a brand new player. What do you do to these players? Seriously, he looked $1 million.
Well, did you see Pogba came out during the week and said, it's my dream to leave United and go and play for Real Madrid. And Zinedine Zidane's come back and says, mate, we don't want you anymore. And so now his dream's been dashed. And you know why, my friend? Because see, when he came back to United, your form starts to drop. You don't become that person anymore. You may go and play really well for France, but they're not just, people aren't watching you for the way you play with your national team. It's how you come together and play for your club. And anyway, but yeah, look, United, absolutely 3 out of 10, absolutely horrible, disgusting, putrid. The only reason they're in this list, because yes, that's right. See this? Yeah, that's right.
I do.
That's the only reason they're there.
I'm going to be even harsher. I give them a 0 out of 10.
Oh, bring it on.
Why? Why the hell are you getting rid of Chris Smalling, who is literally your best defender? Why are you making your defense weak? It is really, 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 really poor. He is by far the best defender you've got in that team. Nobody comes close, and you get rid of him so quickly. I'm telling you, Roma has got a bargain, with that deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm telling you, for you guys to be competitive, you really need him in your team. Sure, people go he's inconsistent, but he always plays well against Arsenal, always plays well against us. He always tries to play well against City when he plays them. Why are you getting rid of him, especially with Maguire playing the way that he's?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I mean, look, 100%. And there's one player that really hasn't really come out, and it's because Ollie won't put him in there, which is Mata. He's a wonderful player, and it's just there's so many things. Look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? I'll say this. I'll put this on the record. In 6 weeks' time, I can't see him at United.
No,
I can't see him. Look, I know we're going to go through it. We're going to quickly go through our tips for match day 5.
Yeah.
But I can't see Ollie being there in 6 weeks' time. He needs a lot more growth. I think he may need to go down the championship, start to get a bit of grounding behind the managerial, start to really taking some of those losses and build the team around who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is and his managerial style. Yeah.
How can you do this as a head of a place like what Ed Woodward's done? Why would you just throw your manager under the bus again?
I mean, that's four of them.
The players need to know where they stand. The players need to be taught a lesson. It's nothing to do, the manager has a lot to do with it, but he's not ultimately responsible for that Spurs performance. That was putrid soccer. And I tell you what now, if Smalling was in that team on that day, there is no way they were going to score 6 goals. No chance. No,
look, exactly. Look, Maguire, I mean, look, what he did was just bloody ridiculous. And the way he pulled Shaw off, because he tried to fix his own mistake. And, if you can't trust your teammates, what the hell are you doing there?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. And this is where Man United, sometimes I look at it and just go, they've got rocks in their friggin' head. You spend 80, 90 million pound on players. They're playing like shit.
You don't do that. And also, you trust your coach, don't you? You trust your manager. If he wants 3 targets, you give him at least one of them to give him a chance. What they're saying to him is that, like, we think you did a phenomenal job when Jose left, but we don't trust you, and we're going to get rid of your defense to just make it look like that you didn't want them there. And that's the reason why I gave them 0. I mean, there's some phenomenal players there. Cavani's been a superstar. What has he done in the last 7 months? Not much, but we'll see what happens. Vanderbilt is excellent. But in terms of an actual transfer period for
it was disgusting.
It's a 0. It could be a negative. If I had Ed Woodward over the last 10 years, I'd give him a negative 10 out of 10 for sure. Because what he's done is transformed a strong, loyal fan base into this wreck. It is a train wreck, and it's really.
This train wreck has been going so slow for many, many years, and I just think when you put it all together, starting from the board, the Glazers on the board, really all the way through to Ed Woodward, the puppet. I've never seen someone who's had their hand stuck up his ass for many years now. And every year this happens. This happens every single year. Let's wait till the last day or we'll get a couple of signings because they'll keep the fans happy. Yeah, not you fuckwit. Anyway, this is not a child show because I'm pissed off. I'm angry.
I know. I'm sorry that I'm getting you even more riled up, but honestly, it's a joke. I see it at Arsenal as well, but the last 2-3 years, I can't complain with their signings. They've thrown the checkbook out. They've got some really good players. I can see that they're trying to do something, and to get Thomas Partey finally, it's a good sign that they're trying to fill in the gaps.
Hey, Matty, I have to say this. I hope for your case that Thomas Partey is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Because, and I tell you what, you have now mentioned him about 8 times, so he better be good. Anyway, no, but I do agree with you. I completely agree with you on that.
Well, it's the first time we can actually talk about somebody in a position that we
absolutely
fill for such a long time. Why are you guys at United following what we're doing? You can tell it's completely destroyed Arsenal. That's why we haven't made Champions League for 3 or 4 years, because we've always avoided signing the right players. Look, I'm so glad that Lacazette and Aubameyang and that came in our forward line, and Pepe.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
But why aren't we a top 5 or 4 team? Because we didn't fill in the gaps that we needed to. We needed a proper centre back. And then we finally got one this transfer period. We needed a CDM. Great. Now we've got one. Now what we need to do in the next couple of transfer periods, maybe it'll take 2 or 3, get a creative midfielder. That will fix the spiner. You slowly but surely see these things. Why you guys are doing what you're doing, from our experience, it doesn't do anything. And yet you continue,
Look, 100%, Matty. I just think, Manchester United, they're going to come out. As I said, they play against Newcastle this weekend, and I'm sitting there just going, oh my God. Anyway, but that's, at the end of the day, who knows what's going to happen? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ed Woodward. They'll bring another manager in. He'll last not even 12 months, if that. You know, I think to where they got to at the end of last season, they were very lucky to get there. They had a beautiful run, and they flew under the radar. That's what they did, and they did something different. They just flew under. They were consistent, and they consistently flew under the radar. Yet they got a shitload of penalties, a shitload. And Fernandez taking penalties is absolutely brilliant. You'd want him taking your penalties. But other than that, I tell you what, I don't know where I sit with this. I just don't. All I can say is once these players do come in, they start playing. Is it going to make it? Look, is Cavani having him on board? Is it going to make a difference? Are we going to have that leader that can do it? Maguire, I hope he's not captain anymore because he shouldn't be.
No, definitely not. But you know what you need? You need a season or something along these lines, like what City did to you. And I think it was 2011 or 12, where it was 1-0 result, and it was basically that game that changed the guard, wasn't it? The change.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And you guys really need to step it up because otherwise I just see City pulverizing you for the next 10 years again. You know what I mean? They've got the money, they can spend it. But
and you did right there, Matty, because I can tell you now why the Glazers actually own Manchester United. They're going to do one or two things. They'll actually drive the club almost into bankruptcy, which I just know if it keeps going with COVID over in Europe, it just may happen. Because taking $100 billion out in the last financial year was absolutely, it's enough to actually wreck any team. So from that perspective, I mean, the group of death in the Champions League, well, they deserve it.
The most interesting thing with the group of death is you guys could actually do all right. You seem to like being under the radar rather than in the spotlight. And this season really proves to me that you guys really can't cope with the pressure of the media and all that sort of stuff. And the team's crumbling. I mean, as you said, I think you put it really, really well in perspective. By being able to fly under the radar, do what you did, get amazing results, that's one thing. Brilliant. But what happens when you're under huge amounts of pressure? You know, that's why I have the ultimate respect for Arteta, because he came in when we were just getting crucified by every single media outlet and still won a cup and still had this terrible, result of finishing 8th in the league. And we've been under pressure the whole time. It's since Wenger's days, before he got the sack. I don't know. It's not good if you can't cope with the pressure. I mean,
that's right.
Later, but then what happens when the pressure comes again and you're in this period of time where you could actually maybe finish 2nd or 3rd, and then the pressure cooker comes and you just choke? I mean, it's not good.
No, look, it's not good, and we'll just wait to see what happens. And that's all I can say. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to move on from the garbage, and let's move to Tottenham Hotspurs, because I tell you what, if there was one really amazing deal, that was Spurs getting Gareth Bale back after a sensational return, 7 years away. That's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely amazing. Jose Mourinho, he's actually done well. They spent just under £60 million.
Amazing.
I like what he's done.
Does it, man? And, I honestly thought at the beginning of the transfer market when they got Joe Hart, I was laughing my pants up. I was like, it's all Arsenal over again because they bought a new stadium. There's no fans in there. And they've done the opposite. They've gone out and actually spent some money. I reckon Regulion is great. Højbjerg has had a great start to the season. And I think Doherty is fantastic signing to strengthen that defense. I was going like, how are they going to do this? But they did it. By getting on that side of the pitch, he's so good. So good. There's been such quality players from Wolves. I think they've really nailed it. For me, easy 8.5. And they've spent. And I did not think they would spend any money. So they've completely exceeded it. And honestly, I think their squad looks really strong. And as an Arsenal...
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
look, and I completely agree with you there. I mean, I'm going to give Tottenham, I'm going to give them an 8. And we keep talking about depth, and we've spoken about this, and they've got that backup striker, Carlos Vinicius,
Yeah.
which is absolutely phenomenal. And so all of a sudden, Kane, you know, sun's up there. You got Gareth Bale. So they've really got that, Joe Hart, who was there on the free, the Hugo Lloris understudy, you could say. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, and good on them. And I just think, they're going to, once again, they will be up there.
I think the only thing that I think that's going to hurt them, I think Christian Eriksen is a huge loss for that team. He wasn't like sparkly or anything, but he was the player that connected everything there. You know what I mean? And now you've got these players. Imagine if Eriksen was in that team. They would easily be a top 3 team. They would easily now be a top 3 team in my mind. But he's a massive loss, and we will see if they can be consistent, because he was, for me, Mr. Consistency.
That's correct. Yeah, and you're spot on with that.
He really was. And I know he hasn't had a great time at Inter, and he hasn't had that thing, but you have to remember, with him and Pochettino was like a marriage in heaven. That was that base that kept them consistent. And he would just all of a sudden score a long-range goal. But he controlled that area. And it never looked pretty, but was amazingly effective. And I think that will still haunt them. You know what I mean? That person like that would make them nearly unbeatable. But they got rid of him, and I think it's a huge deal for them still.
Look, absolutely. All righty. Let's move on. So the last one I actually really drove into here and really chunked down on was Wolves. Now, Wolves spent, they spent just under 74 million. And the great thing is they sold just under 72 million. So it's just like you rub and Peter, you pay Paul, you bring it all together, play around. Look, they've had a busy transfer window. The main outgoing was really Jota to Liverpool. Huge loss for them. And it shows where they sit on the table at the moment. Massive loss for them. Matt Doherty to Tottenham. Helder Costa to Leeds. Wow. Big losses. It's going to be a tough one for Wolves this year.
Yeah, I don't know why. There must be circumstances as to why they've left. But, I mean, when you're losing 3 experienced players when they've played such good footy as a team, I mean, it's a huge thing. But, knowing what this guy Nuno does, just wants to buy the whole Portuguese team, doesn't he, really?
Yeah.
But it's smart, because he knows that if he concentrates on one team, like what the fantastic Arsenal teams used to do when they concentrated on the French and Dutch teams, like that, they know that these players play together all the time. So when they put them in the team, they gel. I mean, they'll do reasonably okay this year. They could have been better if they'd been able to keep at least one of those players. I think, for me, Doherty is a huge loss. That, anchor in the back line. I know that we always talk about, the back line all the time on this show, but in this current season, your centre backs, your right backs, and your left backs are going to be your most important players, because you're just going to score willy-nilly, just the way it is. That's so quick. So it's about limiting how many goals the opposition can score, because there's going to be very few bagels this year, in my opinion, because people are tired. There's so many games going on, and sure, they're supposed to be professional, but I mean, what COVID's done to the mental side of the game, it's completely changed it with no crowds and that. So there's going to be goals scored. So those centre-back positions are about how many goals can you limit. I think this season, if you're getting only 1 goal conceded against you in a game on average, or 1.2, you've done a phenomenal job. Honestly, 1 goal. I reckon even teams that average 2 goals against them for the whole season, I think will do reasonably well, because you're seeing these blowout results. So I reckon if you can lose games or win games with just 1 goal conceded, I think you're going to do very, very well this season. So, but Wolves, I think it's a 5 for me with them. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I do agree with you there. It's not impressive at all. It's funny. It's just while we're actually just chatting, I just quickly jumped on the Twitter, had a look. So it's going to be interesting just over in the UK at the moment. Liverpool, the actual city of Liverpool up north, they've gone into the next stage for the coronavirus lockdowns up there. So hopefully it doesn't have too many problems for any of the clubs playing. They may have to go into a bit of a bubble, I dare say.
Yeah, well, AFL went into a bubble. The NRL went into a bubble. These are all the Australian rugby and their football leagues and codes. But at least, fortunately, both teams that are playing up there on the weekend are Merseysiders anyway. So it's not going to, I don't think it's going to worry so much for game week 5. It's for what's going to happen afterwards. Sure. I'm sure that they'll be able to bubble. I mean, at least in London town, there's quite a few ovals, that could bubble and play their games at Wembley or something. I mean, there's solutions to what they're having. And this is something we brought up, I'm sure, earlier on, that there's going to be things where you're going to have to go to different teams, are going to have to bubble in different places. Some areas will be worse than others with COVID. But for me, the game, game week 5, match week 5, game of the round has got to be that Merseyside derby. That's going to be the absolute cracker of a game.
Look, there are some absolutely phenomenal games coming up in match day 5. As I said, the Merseyside derby is huge, but I also think Man City and Arsenal is going to be an absolute cracker. But then again, let's go down to the bottom of the table. Both the bottom dwellers, Sheffield United and Fulham, are going head to head as well.
Ooh, cracker! If I'm going to go these results, we'll do them one by one. Everton, Liverpool. Seriously, that's going to be. It could go either way. It could be 3-2 to Everton. It could be 3-2 to Liverpool. I can't pick this. But I will say I think a draw could definitely be on the cards here, and I'm going to go 2-2 draw. But either way, I really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with you on that one there. I sat back and went through them early on, had a look, and I just think, it's flip a coin. It's one of those games you could just flip that coin. They're both playing exciting football, but Everton they've got a little bit of an edge at the moment, but then again, who knows what's going to happen. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Once again, it can go either way. It just depends who's got a bit of luck. Will there be any handballs once again? How will VAR play out? And I think that's going to be a big point from this weekend.
Absolutely. Chelsea, Southampton, for me, interesting game. I thought Crystal Palace would give a bit more of a yelp. I thought they'd played really well this season, but they got smacked 4-0, and this is a Chelsea's home game. However, Southampton had a win the week before. I'd still think Chelsea 3-1 probably with this game. There'll definitely be goals in it. So...
Oh, look, I've got no doubt. I agree with you. I've actually picked Chelsea to do this one 3-0. Okay. I really think all of the new Chelsea boys are really starting to come together. Last week, match day 4, they started to come together. I can see that continuing and only to really go on the increase. I think the really test for Chelsea will be when they start to play, your Everton, Liverpool, Man City. Is really going to be the challenge for them. But yeah, definitely Chelsea 3-0 for me.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Man City, Arsenal. Whoa, this is going to be tough. However, we haven't done particularly well with them in the EPL. But I'm going to go on the results that really mattered for us in particular. And when we get the job done with City, it's always a 2-1 victory, right? And whenever City play really well against us, it's always a 3-0 drubbing, whatever happens. So for me at the moment, given the form with what's going on, I actually can see Arsenal winning 2-1 in this game. However, if City get on a roll and they do get some players back, could be the other way. But I think we've got a big chance for once up there because they look much more vulnerable. And the rumor is that Aguero is going to be leaving. That's the trade rumor or something that I heard on the grapevine. So, I think we can do them 2-1. Sorry, City fans. That's just my thoughts.
Look, this is going to be another one of those cracking games. Sitting down, I think there will be a lot of goals scored. I've got no doubt. I think, however, I think Man City are going to come out of this one hungrier. Their 1-1 draw against Leeds in match day 4 hurt them a lot. I reckon it's going to be 4-3 to Man City, and I reckon it will go down to the 92nd minute, and it will be the deadlock will be broken.
Right. Okay. Cool. Very interested because, again, I feel as, when, with Arsenal in particular, what's fantastic is that we get to play them again within a month.
Yeah.
The Carabao Cup. So whatever happens with this result, yeah, definitely can see a 4-3. I can see the 2-1 with Arsenal. I can see them winning 3-0 as well. It's City.
Yeah.
I think the second game, Arsenal will play tighter. It just seems to be that thing when we learn from our mistakes. So, yeah, could be on there. But what we can say is that it's going to be an exciting team. And these guys, they play us. They could be 3 in a row. They could be 4 in a row. I don't know. So.
Look, absolutely. Alrighty. So, Newcastle, Man United. Hey, okay. Now I'm going to drop this one because I'm expecting this one to be a tight affair. I'm actually backing Newcastle to beat Man United 3-1.
Ooh, really? Wow. 3.
I'm not expecting a lot from United. I know they're coming back. The 6-1 drubbing. They've got there's a lot of internal problems with Manchester United. And I think until you start to see that cohesion of players come together on the pitch, look, it could go either way because it depends who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks for this team. That's really fundamentally. I'm just seeing Newcastle actually winning this one.
Yeah, I do too, but I wouldn't go 3-1. I was going to go 2-1, give you guys a little bit more credibility. However, if anything is to be believed, and if Villa can beat Liverpool 7-2, anything can happen in this league, And
spot on.
Can happen. So I'm going to go 2-1, respectability, just that I know that United will not want to get thumped again. A 3-1 would be a crushing blow at St. James in particular as well. So, hopefully there's some respectability, but not good. Not good when you know that, they're supposed to be a top 6 club.
Well, yeah, and especially when you look at, where Newcastle, they're sitting 9th on the table. I don't know. At the moment, where Manchester United are, the way they're playing, there's probably a lot of people out there, and I do agree with them. You start to lose that little bit of belief. You start to lose that, there's no cohesion there. They're not playing together as that tight-knit team. You're starting to see more cracks open. And this has been years in the making. So I'm just, hopefully I'm wrong. I
don't know, man. I can't even answer this question. No, that's 6-1. I can't. I can't. Really, really, really can't believe what I
said. So, Matt, let's just move on to the next one because
But it saddens me. It really saddens me,
Yeah, but it saddens me as well. And I look at it, and you look at all these great football clubs, and they've done so well for such a long time. All of a sudden, and you can see when the Glazers bought them, that's just purely, it's 101. It's just 101. The Glazers bought Man United and everything started to fall out. The only reason it didn't was for Sir Alex Ferguson was still there.
Yeah.
To take out $1 billion out of a club in the last 12 months, and it's done nothing for the club. No manager. There's no belief in any of their managers. It doesn't matter whoever you bring in, the Glazers, they've got no belief in the manager. And they don't give him anything to play with. And Ed Woodward's just a puppet. It's just at the moment, you know what?
These guys, man, they're laughing. They're laughing. Because they know for 10 years now, for an extra 10 years now, given these transfers, they're going to be stronger than you no matter what. They're laughing their way, man. And it's absolutely insulting to United fans because City, sure, they're a reasonable club. But they got nothing on you guys, right? And
Oh,
yet,
yeah.
at the moment, they feel like United. They feel that strong. Well,
Yeah.
let's play another game. Otherwise, we'll just rant. We'll just keep ranting.
Oh, no, look, we will move on to the next one because and I'll just finish off with this one because in my heart of hearts, that beats as we speak, Man United will always be where they are right now unless somebody else buys them. That's it. Why the Glazers have Man United will never be a top club again. But I will always be there because that's my blood flows like a red devil.
Oh, absolutely. No.
All right, let's move on. Sheffield United and Fulham.
Great game. I reckon this will be full of goals. I think 5-3 Sheffield United. They've broken their goal drought. Of course, it would be against Arsenal. I was like, don't let them score, and they did. What a cracker of a goal.
Yeah.
That's all you need in a season. They haven't scored much, but it just takes one goal like that, and I think that they'll win this game. I don't see Fulham being really a threat to them.
Yeah, look, and I do agree with you. What was I thinking? I was thinking around about 5-2 for this one. But yeah, there will be a lot of goals. Fulham haven't shown anything, and I don't think they will. This is going to be a real painful season for Fulham.
Yeah.
Very, very painful. But they'll learn from it. They'll go back down the Championship next year. But Sheffield United, they'll need this one, and I think they'll do this one quite nicely.
Yep, me too. This next game, Crystal Palace and Brighton. Well, Brighton has been the surprise packet for me. I picked them in my bottom three. They're proving me wrong. Good for them. And I reckon in this game, because Crystal Palace got absolutely annihilated by Chelsea, I reckon they could win this 2-1 away. Honestly, I think Brighton played really well against you guys with the United game. They were very, very, very unlucky to not get a draw out of that game. I thought that was quite ridiculous, but that's the way it happens. That's VAR, and they picked it up.
That's right.
Handball. So, it was clear as day. But, I think if they play like that against Crystal Palace, they should beat them 2-1.
Yep. Well, I actually picked Brighton to win this one 3-0. I think, Crystal Palace, they're not consistent. And I just think Brighton, they've got that little bit more consistency, but I just think they'll have a good run. I really do. I'm seeing, especially at the start of the season, especially coming out of this break as well. I think when we start to get further in the second half of the season, I think we'll find very, very different scenarios.
Absolutely.
All right, Tottenham, West Ham.
Woo, cracker of a game.
Cracker of a game. I tell you, I'm actually picking Tottenham to actually do West Ham here 5-1.
Wow. Okay.
I really am expecting them to really get up and just continue that run. Son Heung-min is doing something extraordinary at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they are really playing good football. I'm expecting them to come on. I'm not sure whether Gareth Bale's coming back for this one. If he's going to be there, I dare say he might be actually.
Well, see, I'm very different with you because given what they've done against two quality opposition, they only just lost to us 2-1 at the Emirates. I thought they played really well. And for them to spank Leicester last week at Leicester's home ground 3-0, they've got some good form. And I reckon this game, Tottenham haven't done particularly well at home this year, though, have they? Really, if you think about it, a lot of their games that they've done better in has been away from home. So I reckon it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I think West Ham's going to give them a real kick up the backside. And if they play the way that they're going, I mean, they beat a very quality Leicester team 3-0. Absolutely pants them.
Yeah. I mean, but Bale's back, though. Bale's playing his first game for Tottenham this weekend. I just found it. I think it's going to be a bit of a different scenario this weekend. I think Bale coming in is going to lift them again.
Yeah. Well, let's see if they can be consistent because they've drawn games
that's it.
So let's see if they want to be a real contender, they'll do what you do. If they're not and they're going to be pretenders, they're going to do exactly what I say and they're going to draw 2-2 with these guys. So let's see what happens. Maybe you're right.
Who knows? Who knows? It's a weird game.
And this next game is going to be an utter cracker. And to me, Leicester, Aston Villa, Leicester's wanting blood after last week. However, they're going to find it very hard because I think Aston Villa did the best coup of the season and they got Emi Martinez. That guy is a phenomenal.
Oh, isn't he?
He is so good. He is so good. And the reason why they're strong this year, they can owe 75% of that to Emi Martinez securing that defense. He is absolutely phenomenal. He saves penalties. He's really good at nullifying the forwards because he just batters the spirit out of them. Big dude. And I reckon these guys can do Leicester as well. If Leicester can get thumped by West Ham, I think Villa can beat them 2-0 at home. Unless they prove me otherwise and aren't pretenders.
Well, I tell you what, Jamie Vardy last game out, he had a really bad day. You know, he had a bad day. But I tell you what, you know, Aston Villa, don't take anything away. These guys, Ollie Watkins, Grealish, far out. How do you call a game like this? That's my question to you. This one here, I think it's going to go down right down to it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Aston Villa actually beat Leicester at home. And I'm going to go 4-2.
Nice. So two goal margin like myself. I said 2-0 and you said 4-2.
Yeah.
I honestly think with Emi Martinez, that's a huge difference. And I really think that's why Villa is doing so well this year. That is the best £20 million they've ever spent. I said this to a couple of Aston Villa friends myself. I said, you will not do any better business than getting Martinez.
Yeah.
That, as soon as you get somebody that stops goals, that's goals for you. Honestly, it is, you know.
Look, absolutely. And especially they're sitting second on the ladder at the moment. And, you know, you look at the goal difference, 9 goals. That's just, you know, it's phenomenal stuff. And it's great to see. I must admit, when I look at the top 2, it's actually great to see in the world of football that you've got Everton, Aston Villa, 1 and 2 after 4 games in. Obviously, Aston Villa, it's only 3 games in. But it's just beautiful to see.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was just like so shattered when Emi left Arsenal. I just knew that they would do reasonably well, and they're proving me right. That guy's an absolute champion. Watkins is great. Grealish is great. I mean, they've got a great team. Yet I think they will do Leicester. And if Leicester want to be in the top 6 and they don't want to pretend, they cannot afford to lose any points against these guys, you know?
Look, I don't have a lot of feelings around Leicester this year. I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And I reckon my tips for the next game, right, the Bromers versus Burnley, I think Bromers could do a reasonable job here. I'm actually expecting them to get some points, and I think they'll get the 3 points. They leak goals. I think it'll probably be a 3-2 or a 2-1. So for me, I think the Brommer boys can do it. Burnley should beat them on form, but I don't think West Bromwich is as bad as everybody says that they are. And I've seen them play, and I think they play a reasonable brand of footy, and I think their coach is very spirited, and he'll get them up for this game.
Yeah, look, I'm actually going to go for a 2-2 draw on this one.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in between these two, really. You know, I just think they will play it out. There's definitely going to be goals scored. You're not going to, I think throughout the whole season, without fans there, it's going to be very different. Very, very different. I know we've spoken about that. But yeah, I think 2-2 for this one.
Fair enough. And the final game of the round, I think this is going to be an absolute cracker, Leeds and Wolves. I think there's going to be lots of goals in this game. But I honestly, with the transfer market and the way things have happened, Leeds should win this probably 5-3. They just like goals, Leeds.
Well, it's funny you say that because I actually went down. I actually said on this one, they'll do them 6-2. I'm expecting an absolute cracking game. What Leeds have done, Leeds have just really brought excitement to the Premier League. They just have. They've been missing for so many years. They've come up to the Premier League. and they're showing it exciting. It's quick, and it's just like it's a game when Leeds play, you want to watch it.
Oh, it's awesome. It's so good. And, they've done a Wolves. They've
Yeah.
done what Wolves have done, except what they've done is they've actually learned how to boss games. So Wolves, incredible counter-attacking team, and they've destroyed the top six with this football. I think it's phenomenal. But what Leeds are doing is they're actually doing that, but they're actually trying to boss the midfield. So I think they are phenomenal for what they're doing. I'm going to get a Leeds fan on soon. He's been following them for years. I've known him for a long time. He's so excited about it, and I don't blame him. They play against the big teams. They know what to do, and I think they will score at least 5 goals in this game, and that's why I tipped them 5-3. You think 6-2? Totally justified. So
yeah,
there you go. Game week 5, and to close off, because we've got a couple of minutes to go before I in particular, what's your thoughts on this new Premier League, what they're trying to do with the 18 teams?
Yeah, look, I think it's actually really interesting, especially getting rid of the League Cup, getting rid of the Community Shield, tightening things up because, don't forget, look, I don't think there'll be any fans into stadiums this year at all. There will be a lot of money bled through the clubs. Geez, I don't know. I really don't know. But is it good? Is it not good? Because if they were just to do it and say, do they do it for next year? Is it going to be a permanent thing? Is it just going to be periodical just while we're going through this COVID-19? I think they're the questions that have to be asked, because once COVID's over and fans are back in the stadiums, you want to make sure you got the League Cup there. You want to make sure you get the fans at these games. So while we're in this bubble that we're in, coronavirus, I think it's not a bad thing to say, look, let's not bother. And let's just, because if you do lose, let's have a look. There's been players so far who have got coronavirus and they've had to miss games. Sane, for example. So it's going to be interesting.
For me, the problem is what I've loved about the EPL this season, and why I like the 20 teams in there with the Carabao Cup. It evens everything out, and it's really refreshing for me not to see a dominance of the top 6 teams. Even though, Arsenal's doing quite well this season, I'm glad they're in the top 4, and I know that they're a big club and they need to do this. But that's the beauty. I love seeing a Leicester win a premiership. As much as it hurt me so much to see that, it was so refreshing to see that. It just means that the competition is really even, as it should be. There's so much money that goes into it. It seems a bit of a move that the EPL wants to separate itself from the EFL, like a divorce. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I worry that it means that these top 6 teams will never be touched as well. And that's the frightening thing, because why I love the EPL, I love to see Villa beat Liverpool 7-2. I love
spot on.
Quality football. I get sad when I see United getting beaten by Spurs 6-1 when it's not good, you know what I mean? But a quality game with lots of goals and the other team gets a few deflections and they win 7-2, it's good to watch. It is even, and I don't see that with this 18-team thing, and that's what really worries me. I love the evenness of this competition. That's why we do a breath of fresh footy. That's why we're doing Up the Net, because it is the league where everybody has a chance to win, unlike any of the other leagues.
Yeah, look, absolutely spot on. And I just think, for the League Cup, as we spoke about, you get your teams from Division 4 upwards who actually come in there, they play the Carabao Cup, and it's just like, it's exciting times, and there's no fans at the stadiums at the moment, but hey, guess what? If you're in a League 4 team or Division 2, whoever, and you come up and you're playing someone in the Premier League, you have that win, how good is it for the morale of that club? So I just think everyone's worried about money at the moment. Everyone's worried about the leakage of money. How is that going to affect teams? And that's really, I think, where it's all come from, because there's no gate receipts coming in whatsoever.
But the most important thing in footy or soccer is the players that are out on the field. And
Yeah.
what does the Carabao Cup do for the big teams in particular? It bleeds the youth through their systems so that they take over these superstars that will leave the game. The clubs will always be here, but the players will always be rotating through it. If you don't have any youth system coming through the league, you don't have youth players coming through your team, you won't have a team to support in the future.
That's
why
correct.
the Carabao Cup is important. That's why the FA Cup is important, because it means every single league from League 4 in the EFL Cup, which is the Carabao Cup, or from League 12, which is the FA Cup, is the main reason why these things should happen. And the Shield is an important game because, again, it allows the two best teams either in the FA Cup or the EPL to play against each other. And if it means a League 12 team won the FA Cup and they get to play in the Shield at Wembley, that is a huge thing for English football, bringing players through the ranks. That's exactly what you want. And if they think money can do this, it's going to turn like a Man United. Just bleed money out of the cup.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, spot on. And I do agree with you. I don't think it's a good thing for the game. I just think keep it as is for the moment. It's, look, this coronavirus, it's not going to be around forever with us. There's no doubt about that. It'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if we want to get through coronavirus, we all have to work together, but we also have to adapt to a coronavirus lifestyle. We can't all of a sudden think that everything locking down is a brilliant way to do things. You know what I mean? Because as you're seeing, it's bleeding. People are losing their jobs. They're losing their livelihoods as well.
Yeah, spot on.
And even a league like the EPL is considering these things because it is so detrimental when you can't bring an audience to your ground. You can't bring supporters. Everybody's suffering from it. And if we all think that one vaccine is going to fix something, we're mistaken as a society, because viruses always mutate, they change. We have to find a way to be adaptable with this situation. And it really...
I mean, look, in retrospect, what you're saying there, I look at it and it's going to be interesting because once crowds do get back into the EPL, get back to the stadiums. So you don't forget, with everyone going through what they're going through economically throughout the world, especially through Britain as well, you can't sustain having the same prices for tickets either. So they're going to have to really adapt the way in a business model to actually bring a lot more people into the ground. Otherwise, the crowds aren't going to be there as much because they won't have the money.
But then, this is the thing, and I want to finish off with this point. This pay-per-view thing really grinds.
That was bloody stupid.
Grinds my gears, because what you need to do is that at times when supporters only have their footy clubs to support, you really need to look after your main purpose, and that is your supporters. Without supporters, these football clubs don't exist. And if you're trying to get money out of them and have no money, honestly, what message are you sending? What the hell are you doing? £15 per game? That is a total...
That's a joke.
Absolute total rip. And the EPL should be ashamed of themselves for doing this. They should be broadcasting these games all for free, getting supporters really into their football, because this is their ticket. They can actually get them hooked on it so much that they will want to go to a live game because they're sick of seeing an empty stadium.
And it's a great opportunity to get all the new fans on board as well, because you're streaming all these games for free. And then so all those non-supporters who go, oh, well, I'll watch that Liverpool game. I'll watch that Arsenal. Oh my God, they're pretty good, actually. Yeah. It builds the game. Don't rob it. Don't rob.
It's just disgusting. And this is why I hate this move of the 18 team thing. It just seems it's all money making, whereas we really need to actually support all of the leagues going down, so that some of these players will go up through the leagues, they'll make it into the EPL, and then you have a strong national team. Because that's the pride and joy of every footballer, is to play for their national team. And the only way they can do that is to be able to get some status within their leagues.
Absolutely.
So they're my thoughts. The rivals are here. We've given our thoughts. It's a sad day for United fans, but hey, if you get a new manager, things could happen. If you actually end up playing like a team, maybe something can happen. I mean, with your transfer, only one needs to change the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll be cooking. So I'm excited to see.
Cavani could be the leader. We just need one person to stand up and say, you, and you, and you, come here. Give him a headbutt, a slap, and say, wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, City fans, they should be very happy. They've got a great defender. Arsenal fans should be very, very happy with the thing. And also Spurs fans in particular. I think they've done a great job. Teams are going all right. We'll see what happens. Coronavirus is going to be around. It's going to change the landscape of the game this season. And we watch with interest to see what happens. We're the rivals. I'm Matt. Here's Pete. Remember to subscribe to At The Net. Love your work. And we'll see you very, very, very soon.
Cheers, guys.